So yesterday we talked about accountability and control concept. In concept we talked accountability is a formal concept. Which means answerability and enforceability. There are defined standards for administration, and if those defined standards are enforced against any such decision taken by administration, it is an act of accountability. Like if there is action taken report on CAG audit, it is a kind of accountability. If there is any investigation against any civil servant and he is found of taking any such decision which can fall in the category of malfeasance, misfeasance, overfeasance, so this is also an act of accountability. So accountability is end result, which is taken after action is taken. It arises when there is decision or action. And it is formally defined, that is how we told. There are processes, procedures, mechanisms, hierarchies, legal standards. So all these things have been defined. Why they have been defined? Because simply, let's say, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. If you remember Max Weber, so he told that bureaucracy should be controlled. Even Wilson told that bureaucracy should be controlled. If bureaucracy is not properly controlled, so it can become itself threat to citizens' liberty and property. So you can consider that control is the basis to uphold its accountability, and that's why accountability is considered as one of the most important aspects of administration. And that is how formal system, which we have not taught properly, but yes, you know already now legislature, executive, judiciary, you know about civil services, and you know also their problems, strengths. So you can understand. So there are mechanisms and processes to uphold accountability. There are accountability institutions also like CAG, Lokpal, CVC, CBI, NHRC, whatever the institutions we have created, they have been created to uphold accountability of administration. They have their own advantages. They may have their own also, let's say, positive aspects. They have also to some extent worked in some situations. But yes, then it was realized that in that accountability process, people were simply left out. It was presumed that those accountability mechanisms, when modern democracy emerged and the state was created with separation of power concept, including social contracts, so powers were divided with checks and balances. That way you have to think. So when liberal democracy comes in modern times, they have gone into dividing the powers, separating the powers. We can say 3 organs of the state, then administration, and those 3 organs of the state should have checks and balances, and they should exercise control on administration, and it was presumed that that mechanism will work and administration will work in accountable manner. But then the world realized by 1970s, 80s, 90s that how that system was working. And they found that even if it had its own advantages and in some situation it can be effective, like CAG is considered one of the most important institutions in our country or in any country, it has worked well also. Still, there are lots of loopholes or scope. You can consider lots of scope you can find, or you can find weaknesses also, misuse of power also. So there were both positive aspects, negative aspects. Means changes did not only come because it was a failing, rather it was a necessity also. Because people should be stakeholder, active participant, they should have a voice and choice in decision making, and that is how 80s onwards, you know, most of the things you know now, NPM and LPG, other things, governance, good governance, all these things you know that how they started evolving during 80s and 90s. And they also influenced the concept of accountability that we told yesterday. And that is how, let's see, one important aspect was that people should be brought in the process of accountability. The government alone or mercenaries alone may not be able to uphold accountability the way it is desired. Rather, it may be more of latter, not in spirit. Rather, it can be more quantitative, not qualitative. Accountability must necessarily be qualitative, moral, professional, not only legal. this, and that is how citizens should participate. That is how that gave rise to concept of social accountability that we told. So that resulted into people's participation. At the same time, there is another way of development that is called performance accountability led by new public management. Then again, let's say that you experience after 2-3 decades the benefits or limitations, strengths, limitations of social accountability. So even if social accountability has worked, it has so many positive examples, participation of people, all these things have increased, still it has its own flaws. And the flaws we told that there are, let's say that exposures of corruptions and other aspects you can find. RTI, Citizen Charter, social audit people apply, but at the end of the day, there is still action lacking. So when exposures are there, people apply RTI and still actions are not there. Hence, it has been found that it is not effective. And therefore, World Bank in 2016, its one such report, it carried out studies across the countries and it gave a new concept of accountability that is called actionable accountability. That accountability should not be open, it should not be only formal, legal, professional, it should also be actionable, means there must be necessarily action against any such decision taken by civil servant, which is malfeasance, overfeasance or misfeasance. And that is how actionable accountability. So nowadays there are more and more efforts to bring in institutionalization so that we can make RTI, Citizen Charter, social audit, e-governance, all these things more effective. And already that process has started, hand-holding approach between CAG and social audit. So still we want to go for more and more institutionalization. That is how we told as far as accountability is concerned. Now it is not necessary that they will ask always social accountability. So far they have not asked social accountability, although for let's say that almost 6-7 years we are expecting that there will be a question on social accountability. But they have not asked. So it is not necessary. And if it is not asked, you should not write social accountability. Rather, if a question is asked on accountability, because a statement can be given, any statement can be framed related to accountability, you are supposed to answer that. So you should not write more on social accountability, means since you know that does not mean you should write in place of accountability, social accountability in your answer. So that should not be. But yes, it gives you a macro view about what we are going to, let's say, teach about RTI, Citizen Charter, Lokpal, etc. So you can understand in a macro way how they have been effective, they have not been effective, or what we should do. Then we were talking about performance accountability. Performance accountability has its own limitations because it affects democratic accountability. Hence, since public administration has evolved, traditional administration, new public management and post-NPM. Similarly, they will also influence, regulation will be also influenced, public-private partnership will also be influenced, performance accountability will also be influenced. So those changes, so today there is more and more emphasis on democratic accountability in addition to performance accountability. And that is how, let's say, we may have told in case of regulation. So, how to bring democratic accountability, as we told that public-private partnership should be brought under CAG audit, or it should be brought under parliamentary committee. No. Do you remember?
The first step towards achieving your dreams is having the right coach. Get the best education with Lukmaan IAS and make your UPSC dreams come true. Download the app now.